Hello, here I am again in the name of the sovereign creator of heaven and earth, the Lord Jesus Christ. We're continuing my exposition of my translation of Genesis. We've come to chapter 45. Joseph reveals himself to his brothers. I'm going to read verses 1 through 15 and then go back and comment. Just remember that in the prior chapter, Judah makes a very impassioned plea, and that got to Joseph. Then Joseph could no longer contain himself before all who were with him, and he cried out, "Have everyone leave me." So no one stayed with him when Joseph revealed himself to his brothers. He wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard it, and Pharaoh's household was informed about it. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Can my father still be alive?" But his brothers could not answer him, for they were terrified of him. Then Joseph said to his brother, "Now come near to me." And they came near. And then he said, "I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. Now then, do not be grieved or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life. There has been famine in the land for just 2 years, and there are still 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. Yes, God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant in the land, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So it was not really you who sent me here, but God, and he has made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and ruler over all the land of Egypt. Hurry and go up to my father and say to him, 'This is what your son Joseph says. God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, do not delay. You will live in the land of Goshen, and you will be near me, you and your children, your children's children, your flocks and your herds, and all that you have. I will provide for you there, because there will be 5 more years of famine, so that you will not become destitute, you and your household and all that you have. Now really, your eyes and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see that it is I who am speaking to you. So you tell my father of all my glory in Egypt and of all that you have seen. So hurry and bring my father down here." Then he fell on his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck, and he kissed all his brothers and wept over them. And after that, his brothers talked with him. Just a couple things here. He gave the order to the other people in the room in Egyptian to get them out, because he didn't want them around when he revealed himself to his brothers. Of course, his brothers didn't understand Egyptian. After everyone else was gone, then he spoke in Hebrew when he revealed himself to them. Now, I find this question in verse 3, "Can my father still be alive?" It's a rather curious question. But the brothers were so convinced of Joseph's death that they hadn't even become suspicious, in spite of the strange things that had happened. So it seems that Joseph wanted to combat their disbelief. Like if Jacob could still be alive, well, so could Joseph. I don't know. So, now notice in verse 5 that Joseph clearly states that it was God who directed the whole story. God sent me before. That's right. Now in verse 10, he says, "You live in the land of Goshen." Obviously, Joseph already had everything planned. He knew just what he was going to do. At the end here, verse 15, his brothers talked with him. They had just found it real hard to believe that it could be Joseph, but they ended up being convinced in the end. Now let's go on and read verses 16 through 20. Now this news was heard in Pharaoh's house, saying, "Joseph's brothers have come." And it pleased Pharaoh and his servants and his servants well. So Pharaoh said to Joseph, say to your brothers, do this, load your animals and depart, go to the land of Canaan, take your father and your households and come to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you will eat the fat of the land. Each of you individually is commanded. Do this. Take wagons from the land of Egypt for your little ones and for your wives. Take your father and come. Do not worry about your possessions, for the best of all the land of Egypt will be yours. Well, Pharaoh's generosity and goodwill are impressive. He really laid it on. In fact, he goes going to give him Goshen, which was the best place in the country. Right on. God was taking care of things. All right, let's go on and read verses 21 through 28, which will be the end of chapter 45. Then the sons of Israel did so, and Joseph gave them wagons according to Pharaoh's command. He also gave them food for the journey, and he gave to each of them all a change of clothing. But to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of clothing. He also sent to his father 10 donkeys loaded with the best of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain, and bread and food for his father for the journey. Then he sent his brothers away, and they departed, and he said to them, do not quarrel on the way. So they went up out of Egypt and came to the land of Canaan, to Jacob their father. And they told him, saying, Joseph is still alive. Indeed, he is ruler over all the land of Egypt. And Jacob's heart almost stopped. He did not believe them. But they told him all the words of Joseph, which he had spoken to them, and he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to carry him. And the spirit of Jacob their father revived. Then Israel said, it is enough. My son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die. There's 2 things here. I find it curious. He says, do not quarrel on the way. Come on. It seems that Joseph didn't want anything to delay his father's coming. Yeah, they quarreled, that would throw them down. Now, in verse 28, Israel finally says, it is enough. That is to say, the evidence was finally enough to convince him. Took a while, but he got around. Now let's move on to chapter 46. I will read verses 1 through 7. People of Israel moved to Egypt. Then Israel set out with all that he had and came to Beersheba and offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. And God spoke to Israel in the visions of the night and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, here I am. And he said, I am God, the God of your father. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for there I will make of you a great nation. I will go down with you to Egypt and will surely bring you back, and Joseph will put his hand on your eyes. Then Jacob arose from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried their father Jacob, their little ones and their wives in the wagons that Pharaoh had sent to carry him. They took their livestock and their possessions that they had acquired in the land of Canaan and went to Egypt. Jacob and all his descendants with him. His sons and his sons' sons were with him. His daughters and his sons' daughters and all his descendants he took with him to Egypt. Just a couple of things here. I find it curious in verse 2 that God still uses the name Jacob. He says he didn't call Israel, he called him Jacob. Jacob. He himself had given him the name. Oh, well, I don't know. Now, in verse 4, God says, I will surely bring you back. Well, God brought the descendants back, okay. And of course, Jacob's body was taken back and buried in the cave of Machpelah. Maybe that was what he meant. At the end of verse 4, Joseph will put his hand on your eyes. This expression may mean that Joseph would close Jacob's eyes at the moment of his death. See chapter 5, 50 and verse 1. Maybe, I don't know, it's a possibility. Now let's read verses 8 through 15. We're going to have a long list here of sons. I'm going to break it up into the 4 wives. Then these are the names of the children of Israel who went into Egypt. Jacob and his sons. Reuben, Jacob's firstborn. The sons of Reuben, Henoch, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. The sons of Simeon, Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanite woman. And the sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Judah, Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah, parenthesis, but and Onan died in the land of Canaan, as God killed them. The sons of Perez were Hezron and Hamul. The sons of Issachar, Tola, Puva, Job, and Shimron. The sons of Zebulun, Sarad, Elon, and Jaleel. Those were the sons of Leah, whom she bore to Jacob in Paddan Aram, and his daughter Dinah. All the souls of his sons and his daughters were 33. I'm going to comment on 2 things here. Why does it say that Shaul in verse 10 was the son of a Canaanite woman? Look, as far as I know, all of them got their wives from Shechem. So all their wives were Canaanites. So how was this one different? Well, I don't know. But there it is. Now, the sons and daughters, 33. That number only includes one daughter, of course, the one that was named, Dinah. Verses 16 through 18, we get the sons of Zilpah. The sons of Gad, Ziphion, Haggai, Shuni, Esbon, Erodi, and Ereli. The sons of Asher, Jimnah, Ishua, Isui, Beriah, and their sister Sarah. And the sons of Beriah were Heber and Malchiel. Those were the sons of Zilpah, whom Laban gave to his daughter Leah. She bore those 16 souls to Jacob. Now, 19 through 22, this will be the sons of Rachel. The sons of Rachel, Jacob's wife, Joseph and Benjamin. And to Joseph in the land of Egypt were born Manasseh and Ephraim, whom Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bore to him. The sons of Benjamin, Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gejera, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, Hupim, and Ard. Those were the sons of Rachel who were born to Jacob, 14 souls in all. The sons of Dan, Hushim. The sons of Naphtali, Jazreel, Guni, Jezer, and Shilem. Those were the sons of Bilhah, whom Laban gave to Rachel his daughter. She bore them to Jacob, 7 souls in all. All the souls who went with Jacob to Egypt, who came from his loins, aside from the wives of Jacob's sons, were 66 souls in all. The sons of Joseph, who were born to him in Egypt, were 2 souls. All the souls of the house of Jacob who went to Egypt were 70. We need to understand again what the word loins means. Loins, when it's plural, is used to refer to the male reproductive system. When loin is singular, it means just the waist. Now, at the very end, it says 70. Now, of course, in addition to Joseph and his sons, Jacob himself was now included, which makes the 4 added to 66. Going on to, we now come to verses 28 through 34, that'll finish the chapter. Jacob sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph to give him directions to Goshen. And they came to the land of Goshen. And Joseph prepared his chariot and went up to Goshen to meet his father Israel. When he came to him, he fell on his neck and wept there for a long time. And Israel said to Joseph, "Now I can die, for I have seen your face, and you are still alive." Then Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, "I will go up and report to Pharaoh and say to him, 'My brothers and my father's household who are in the land of Canaan have come to me, and the men are shepherds. They tend livestock, and they have brought with them their flocks, their herds, and all that they have. Now then, when Pharaoh calls you in and says, "What is your occupation?" you must say, "Your servants have tended livestock from our youth until now, both we and our fathers, so that you may dwell in the land of Goshen. For every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians." Several things here. Verse 29, fell on his neck and wept for a long time. Evidently, that was the way they expressed their emotions at that time. That's just the way they did it. In verse 30, Israel says, "Oh, now I can die." As a matter of fact, he still lived for 17 years. He didn't die all that fast. Just by the way. Now, at the very end here, at verse 34, every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians. I find that to be curious, you know. Like the Egyptians had sheep, so someone had to take care of them. Who did it? I don't know. Anyway, as we'll see, Pharaoh was glad to have these guys who were professional shepherds. Let's go on now to chapter 47. I will read just verses 1 through 6. Then Joseph went and informed Pharaoh and said, "My father and my brothers and their flocks and their herds with all that they possess have come from the land of Canaan, and indeed they are in the land of Goshen." And he had taken 5 men from among his brothers, and he presented them to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to the brothers, "What is your occupation?" And they said to Pharaoh, "Your servants are shepherds, both we and our fathers." They also said to Pharaoh, "We have come to dwell in the land, because there is no pasture for your servants' flocks, because the famine is severe in the land of Canaan. Therefore, please let your servants dwell in the land of Goshen." Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Your father and your brothers have come to you. The land of Egypt is before you. Have your father and your brothers live in the best of the land. Let them live in the land of Goshen. And if you know of any competent men among them, put them in charge of my livestock." Right. You got some professional shepherds. Now let's go on and read verses 7 through 12, and that'll be the end of this video. Then Joseph brought his father Jacob and placed him before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Jacob, "How many are the days of the years of your life?" And Jacob said to Pharaoh, "The days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. The days of the years of my life have been few and troubled, and have not attained to the days of the years of the life of my fathers in the days of their pilgrimage." So Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from before Pharaoh. Then Joseph gave a possession to his father and his brothers in the land of Egypt, and settled them in the best of the land of Ramesses, as Pharaoh had commanded. Then Joseph supplied his father, his brothers, and all his father's household with food according to the number of their children. It was rationed, you see. Now, in verse 7, Jacob blessed Pharaoh. That's interesting. The Hebrews 7:7 says, without dispute, the lesser is blessed by the greater. Well, Pharaoh owed a great deal to Joseph, and Jacob was his father. Okay, I don't know. Now, Pharaoh actually said the days of the years. That's what he said. If you think about it, of course, each year is made up of days, right? If most of the days were bad, you had a bad year, right? Now, the last thing I want to comment on here is the days of their pilgrimage at the end of verse 9. By definition, a pilgrim is on a journey away from his home. For those of us whose home is heaven, life in this world is indeed a pilgrimage. For more about that, you can see Hebrews chapter 11 and verses 8 through 10. But for now, that's it. Thanks for watching, and God bless.